Chapter 76. The kid flying! The horrified agent felt compelled to shout to the gathered felons and witnesses, now closing in around them. He found himself alone and nearly pleading as the crowd grew increasingly hostile. I didn't. Tell him, kid. The gridlock, exacerbated by the H patrols, found reaching the scene virtually impossible through traffic. Carter and a number of the other agents literally abandoned their vehicles in the street some blocks away. Carter, running with his MP4 as though he was storming a citadel, itched at the prospect of catching me. He wasn't expecting the growing and now outraged crowd that continued to gather. A block from the standoff between the agents and Psycho, he and the half-dozen agents behind him came to a sudden halt. "Department of Homeland Security," he roared, shoving his way through the first wall of people. "Move aside!" Crowd, now numbering in the hundreds and filling the sidewalks and streets, simply weren't having paid goons trample on their rights so easily. More people, hearing of the boy, poured from surrounding office towers, enveloping the agents, who only shoved harder, threw punches, and screamed threats. Carter flew into a rage and considered his weapon and shooting his way through the angry crowd. A block or so to the east, several Chicago cops forced their way through the crowd. It was an old sergeant and a young Hispanic female rookie. The sergeant was exasperated already by the chaos created by ICE and was now annoyed beyond words at what this had all quickly spiraled into. "You want to explain what you're doing to my city?" The sergeant glared at the now beleaguered, yet still defiant agent. The crowd had turned hostile. Shouts of "racist" or "fascist" had changed to chorus chants of "out with the neo-Gestapo" and "no place for ICE." "We're looking for a fugitive," he said anxiously, wondering where Carter and the others were. "I suspect this kid of harboring evidence under his jacket." "Is that right, kid?" asked the cop, keeping an eye on the crescendo shouts and cries from up the block. It was impossible to see amid the wall of people. "Got my lunch in here," Psycho asserted. "I got rights. If homie charging me with a crime, I got to go." "Well, the kid's got rights, agent," the sergeant said. "Is there a specific crime you are within your jurisdiction to accuse him of?" "Well, no, but," the agent stammered. Carter and the other agents were making slow but steady progress from the unyielding crowd. He could see the CPD sergeant and the helmet of his agent over the crowd. My heart was beating like a kettle drum, just as Psycho's was. We were running out of time. Still, I couldn't help but be impressed by the outwardly cool demeanor of the boy. I wanted to scream for Psycho to run. Every heartbeat now grew excruciating. I feared I might go utterly mad. "You carrying anything illegal, son?" the sergeant said with the tone of a father. Anticipating a rebuke from the agent, he held a finger sternly in the agent's face. "No, sir," Psycho replied. "This agent called this boy the N-word," cried a woman, incensed. "That's true," shouted the rookie. Meanwhile, Carter was impatient to the point of frustration and hysterics. He and his men were nearly upon the scene when they ran headlong into a solid wall of defiance. Rapaciousness was getting the better of him. Without considering, he flipped off the safety on his MP4 with his thumb. The kid could not be allowed to escape.